All right, so we got a really interesting one today. You sent us a bunch of articles and data about Blue Hat Interactive Entertainment Technology, or BHAT. And it seems like we need to figure out if this company is going to be the next big thing or a total flop.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. BHAT is a company that's definitely had, let's say, an interesting journey.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, they started out in the world of AR, augmented reality, making games and toys.
Oh, so like those games where kids chase virtual monsters around the living room.
Yeah, kind of like that. They had things like AR Racer and an AR picture book. But then, get this, they made a pretty dramatic shift.
Oh, really? What'd they do?
They basically went all in on bulk commodity trading in China.
Whoa, hold on. You're telling me they went from making AR games to trading like gold and diamonds?
Yep, you got it. Now they've got three main segments of their business: diamond trading, commodity trading, and they still have the information services. But yeah, most of what they do now is trading stuff like gold and diamonds, even chemicals.
Okay, so that is a huge change. And how are they even able to do that?
Well, they've got this subsidiary called Golden Alpha Strategy, and they managed to get a Class A license, which means they're allowed to deal with all those precious metals and stones in Hong Kong. That's how they were able to buy a whole ton of gold, which we'll talk about later.
Okay, interesting. So how about the people running the show? Do we think they can handle all of this?
Well, running the show, we have co-CEOs Guo Fan and Jiodong Chen. The CFO is Kaifan He. They've also got Wai-Ching Pan as their chief strategy officer and Jianyang Kai as the CTO. But there's one more person I got to tell you about.
Oh, and who's that?
Their CIO is Aileen. And you want to know the crazy part? Aileen isn't a person.
So their CIO is like a computer program or something.
That's right. Back in 2024, BHAT actually appointed an AI as their CIO. Apparently, Aileen's whole job is to collect tons of industry data and then help the company make big decisions.
Wow, that's certainly unique. So is this a stroke of genius, or are they just trying to get attention?
Honestly, it's hard to say. It could be brilliant or it could be a total disaster.
All right, well, let's get down to the numbers. What about their financials? Are they actually making money?
So their financials are, well, pretty volatile. It's like a roller coaster.
Really? How so?
Okay, so last year in 2023, their revenue shot up to $73.69 million. That's like a 3,255% growth compared to the year before.
Whoa, that's insane. That doesn't sound too volatile to me. That sounds like a pretty successful business.
Okay, well, here's the thing. That same year, they still managed to report a net loss of $19.30 million.
Hmm. Okay, so making a lot of money, but still losing money.
Yeah, and then if you look at their stock price, it gets even wilder.
Yeah.
Their 52-week high was $1.45. But by February 10th this year, 2025, it had crashed down to just 0.068 cents. That's like a 95% drop.
Ouch. That's got to hurt.
Yeah.
So what do things look like for them right now?
Well, as of February 11th, they've got a market cap of $10.31 million and an enterprise value of $10.60 million. Now, the enterprise value basically gives you a better idea of the company's total worth when you factor in debt and cash, too.
Got it. So they had huge revenue growth, but still operating at a loss.
Yeah.
And their overall value has plummeted. That's not exactly confidence-inspiring.
No, it's definitely a cause for concern. In the last 12 months, their revenue is at $40.46 million, but their gross profit, it's negative $10.44 million. And it's not just that. Their operating income and net income are both in the red as well, at negative $24.95 million and negative $16.23 million. Their trailing 12-month earnings per share, or EPS, is sitting at negative $0.31. They've got about $2.97 million in cash right now, but they also have a debt of $3.26 million.
So it's definitely not all sunshine and roses for them.
Yeah.
But can they at least cover their debts? What about their short-term financial health?
So that's where we got to look at their liquidity ratios. Right now, their debt-to-equity ratio is sitting at 8.20%, which actually isn't that high. This means they're not relying too heavily on debt financing. And their current ratio is actually really strong. It's at 5.88. Their quick ratio is even better at 5.06, and that one focuses on their most easily accessible assets.
Okay, so if I'm following you, it sounds like they're losing money overall, but they do have enough easily available assets to cover their immediate debts.
Precisely. It's a mixed bag. They've got some big financial hurdles in front of them, but they're not on the verge of collapse just yet. The big question is, can they make their impressive revenue growth translate into actual profits?
Yeah, that's the big question. Well, we've definitely seen that BIT isn't afraid to make big changes, from AR games to gold bars, and they're not afraid of risk. But we've also seen that their financials are a bit of a mess.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see what happens next. But before we jump into that, we've got to take a quick break. Stay with us. Okay, so where were we? Ah, yes. BH is a wild ride.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, hasn't it? So what's been happening with them lately? Any news that might make investors either jump for joy or head for the exits?
Well, the biggest news has got to be that they bought a ton of
The
gold.
gold, right. That was back in January, wasn't it?
Yeah, January 2025. And it wasn't just a little bit of gold. We're talking about a whole ton of the stuff.
I mean, it's not every day you see a company, especially one that used to make AR games, go and buy a ton of gold. Did that raise any eyebrows in the market?
Oh, absolutely. It was definitely a headline grabber. They got it from this company called Rongson Precious Metal Technology Co., Ltd. And get this, they snagged it at a pretty good price. It was RMB 473.70 per gram, which, if you do the math, comes out to about US $1,900 per ounce.
Okay, and I'm guessing the price of gold has gone up since then, otherwise we wouldn't be talking about
You
it.
got it. Gold prices have been on a tear in early 2025, going way above US $2,780 per ounce at some points. So, on paper, that means BHA could be looking at a potential profit of almost US $25 million.
Wow, that's a massive potential gain. But isn't putting so much money into one single asset like gold, which can be super volatile, incredibly risky, what if the price of gold suddenly tanks?
That's the gamble they're taking. It's a classic high-risk, high-reward situation.
Yeah.
Their bet is that gold will at least hold its value or even keep going up over time. Only time will tell how that plays out.
It's definitely a bold move. And speaking of bold moves, you mentioned earlier that BHAT has been doing these things called registered direct offerings. Can you explain what those are? I'm sure some of our listeners might not be familiar with that term.
Sure. Basically, they're creating and selling new shares of their stock to bring in more capital. It's a pretty common way for companies to get a quick influx of cash, but it comes with a downside. It dilutes the value of the shares that existing shareholders already own, meaning their piece of the company gets smaller.
So it's like cutting a pizza into more and more slices. Everyone gets a piece, but each piece gets smaller and smaller.
That's a great way to put it. And this brings us to another important event. BHA had a notice from NASDAQ about something called a minimum bid price deficiency.
Okay, so in plain English, what does that actually mean?
Well, basically, their stock price has been below $1 for 30 trading days in a row. This means they're not meeting the requirements to be listed on NASDAQ anymore, and they risk getting delisted.
Delisted. What would happen if that happened?
It's not a good thing. If a company gets delisted from a major exchange like NASDAQ, their stock usually ends up on these over-the-counter markets, also known as OTC markets. And those markets tend to have lower trading volumes and less interest from investors.
So it's like going from a busy, well-lit shopping street to a dark alleyway. Not exactly where you want to be if you're trying to attract customers, or in this case, investors.
Yeah, exactly. Delisting can make a stock way less attractive and drive the price down even more. It can turn into a vicious cycle.
So what can BHA do about this? Can they avoid getting kicked off of NASDAQ?
They can definitely try. They can appeal the notification and try to show NASDAQ that they can get their stock price back up above $1 and meet all the other listing requirements. Whether they'll succeed is another question.
It sounds like they're walking a tightrope right now. All right, let's shift gears a bit and talk about who actually owns BHH. Who are the main players holding those shares?
Well, right now, as of February 11th, 2025, they have a total of 113.70 million shares outstanding. That's a crazy 396.75% increase compared to last year. And a lot of that's due to those direct offerings we talked about.
Okay, so lots of new shares floating around.
Yeah.
But who holds most of them?
Well, insiders, meaning the company's management and board members, they only own about 4.32%. And then you've got institutional investors like those big mutual funds and hedge funds, and they hold around 11.96%.
So if my math is right, that means most of the shares are held by.
Retail investors, everyday people like you and me. And that's important because retail investors tend to be more influenced by the overall market sentiment and the latest news headlines. They might be quicker to buy or sell based on what they're hearing, and that can make BHAT's stock price even more unpredictable.
Yeah, kind of like a school of fish darting back and forth whenever there's a little ripple in the water.
Exactly. So now let's talk about what's probably on everyone's mind. The risks that come with investing in BHA. We know they've made some pretty risky moves. What are the big red flags that investors should be aware of?
Yeah, let's hear it. Lay it on us.
Well, the most immediate risk, as we've already discussed, is this potential delisting from NASDAQ. If they can't win their appeal and trading of their stock gets suspended, that would be a huge hit to their credibility and could make their stock price plummet even further.
That's definitely something investors would want to avoid. What other concerns are there?
Their overall financial instability is another big one. We've seen how their revenue goes up and down, they're consistently reporting net losses, and their earnings have been trending downwards for the past 5 years.
It sounds like they're trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand.
Exactly. And then there's the fact that the commodity trading market is inherently volatile. The prices of commodities, especially gold, which is their main focus, can swing wildly. If gold prices take a sudden dip, it could wipe out a big chunk of those potential profits they're hoping to make from that big purchase.
So they're basically at the mercy of market forces they can't control. All right, what about the risks that are tied to their decision to shift from AR to commodities?
That's a huge question mark. Do they really have what it takes to succeed in this new area? Do they have the experience and expertise to navigate the complexities of the commodity trading world? It's a big unknown.
And we can't forget about the risk of them diluting shareholder value even further if they keep doing those direct offerings. It's a tough situation. They get the cash they need, but it comes at the cost of shrinking the value of existing shares.
Absolutely. You're hitting all the key points. And lastly, we can't ignore their relatively small market cap. That makes them more vulnerable to all sorts of market fluctuations and can lead to those big price swings we've been talking about.
Wow, so it seems like there are quite a few risks on the table here. But every coin has two sides. Are there any potential benefits, any upsides that might make taking these risks worthwhile? Could BHA actually turn things around and become a success story?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's crucial to look at both sides of the story. And despite all those challenges, there are some glimmers of hope.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Convince me that BHA isn't a lost cause.
All right, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. The global market for commodity trading is expected to grow significantly over the next few years. So if BHT can play their cards right, they could ride that wave of growth and potentially see some serious revenue increases.
So they're hoping to ride the coattails of a booming industry.
You got it. They could become a key player in this expanding market. And don't forget about their tech background, especially in AR. They could actually use that to their advantage by developing new and innovative solutions for the commodity trading market. Imagine AI-powered trading algorithms or using AR to visualize those complex market trends and data.
That's a really interesting idea, using technology to get ahead in an industry that isn't traditionally known for being tech-savvy.
Exactly. It's something they should definitely explore. Remember, they've already shown they're willing to embrace cutting-edge tech with Aileen, their AI CIO. Who knows what other innovations they might come up with?
I'm starting to see a glimmer of hope here. What else is working in their favor?
Well, they've also been busy building some strategic partnerships, like the one with Ronxin Precious Metal Technology, the company they bought all that gold from. These partnerships can open doors to new markets, give them access to valuable resources, and connect them with experienced players in the industry. All of that could help speed up their growth.
It's like they're assembling a team of allies to help them navigate this new territory.
That's a great analogy. And they've got ambitious plans to expand into new markets, specifically Southeast Asia and the US. Those are huge markets with massive potential for a commodity trading company.
So it sounds like even with all the risks, there's a chance they could really hit it big if they can make their strategy work.
That's the key execution. Can they overcome all those challenges and actually turn their potential into real, tangible success? That's the question.
It's like watching a high wire act. You're on the edge of your seat, not sure if they're going to make it to the other side, but you just can't look away.
I love that analogy.
Okay, so we spent a lot of time with BAT and their story. AR games, gold bars, AI CIOs, potential delisting. It's been quite a journey.
It really has, a real roller coaster. And now the big question, should you invest? High risk, high reward, that's BHAT in a nutshell.
So what's the final verdict? Buy, sell, or run for the hills?
Well, gotta remind everyone, we can't give financial advice here. We're just breaking down the information you sent us, looking at all the angles.
Right, of course. Not financial advice.
You have to make the final decision yourself. But hopefully, after this deep dive, you've got a much better understanding of how BHU works, their financial situation, what the market's saying, and all those risks involved.
It's all about equipping you with the knowledge so you can make an informed decision, one that fits your own goals and risk tolerance.
And BHA's story definitely highlights how crucial due diligence is for any investor.
Absolutely. No matter how exciting a company sounds, you got to dig deeper, look at the facts, and really weigh those risks before you put any money down.
Speaking of risks, their big bet on gold, it could be paying off in the short term, but can they keep that going? Can they fix those financial issues and actually become profitable, not just in bursts, but consistently?
And can they get back in good standing with NASDAQ and avoid getting delisted?
Here's something to think about. BHA's future might depend on whether they can really make AI work for them in their commodity trading operations. Can a lean, the AI CIO, actually be the secret weapon that helps them unlock their potential and make smart decisions in this crazy market?
Now, that's a question I'm really curious about. Could an AI CIO be the key to success in the world of commodities? That's a story we'll definitely be keeping an eye on.
Definitely. It'll be fascinating to see how they use AI going forward. Could be the difference between success and failure.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. Thanks so much for guiding us through all of this. I know I have a much clearer picture of BHAT, and I'm sure our listeners do too.
Happy to help. If you want to dive even deeper, we've got links to all the sources we use down in the show notes.
And we always love hearing from you.
So let us know what you think. What are your predictions for BHAT? Leave your comments and any other stock suggestions down below.
And don't forget to subscribe to the Stock Analytics AI YouTube channel for more deep dives on companies just like BHAT.
We use the latest AI technology to analyze complex financial data and give you the insights you need to make smarter investment decisions.
And one last reminder, this is just our analysis based on the information you gave us. It's definitely not financial advice, so please do your own research and due diligence before you make any investment decisions.
Investing in the stock market always comes with risks. The more you know, the better prepared you'll be to handle the exciting, sometimes unpredictable world of investing. Thanks for tuning in.